It's Oscar season, people! And this year, I've decided to watch all the Best Picture nominees so that you don't have to. Throughout the video, I'm going to be tier listing and ranking them so that towards the end, we can come up with the predicted winner for the Oscars. As a film major, I feel as though my opinion is very valid and more important than anybody else's, so much so that my opinion should influence others because I'm a film major and because I say so. Obviously, this video is solely my opinion / predictions. Some things I'm taking into consideration in order to give my ratings and tier listing are originality / creativity, pacing, structure, plot, writing, characters, cinematography, and of course, entertainment value. So without further ado, let's get started with the first movie. I give this movie a 3.5 stars out of 5. The movie was obviously really well done, and if I was basing my rating solely on technicality, it would be rated a lot higher. But since I am taking into account my own personal enjoyment for these ratings, I have to give it a 3.5. War movies just kind of aren't my thing. All Quiet on the Western Front is a remake of the 1930s silent film, which actually was the third film ever to win an Oscar. I thought that was a pretty cool little fact. The movie takes place in 1914 Germany from the beginning of the First World War. Paul and some of his classmates enlist in the army, and then the movie just gets really sad. I think it does a really good job with the violence. It really highlights how horrible and traumatic war is. I think that it does really well in that aspect. But like I said, war movies aren't my thing. I find them pretty boring. They're just not my genre. So for tier ranking, I think we're gonna put it in the okay, not bad for right now. Top Gun Maverick really surprised me. I did not think I was gonna like it as much as I did, but it just had such good vibes throughout the whole film, and it was just a really enjoyable watch. It felt like an ensemble movie, and I think that's part of the reason it did so well. At least in terms of the team, the characters didn't feel two-dimensional, and it was interesting. I never saw the first movie, so I could be completely off for saying this, but I did not give a fuck about the love interest. I did not care about that storyline whatsoever. They could have scratched that from a movie and I think it would have been a better movie. The dynamics between the team is what carries this movie, and I think that was the first Tom Cruise movie I've ever seen. So pretty glad it was this one because this was just a really good. Top Gun Maverick is a sequel to the movie Top Gun that was made in the 80s. Maverick, who is played by Tom Cruise, is training the best pilots in the US Navy for a special mission. Among one of these recruits is Maverick's bestie's son. Said bestie died in the first movie, and it creates this whole added tension to the team that makes it really entertaining and a compelling little movie to watch. So I think I'm gonna be putting it in the wow, this is really good tier, because it was really good. I had started Elvis a couple months back before I even wanted to make this video, and I stopped halfway because it just felt like a 3-hour long trailer, and it just wasn't it for me. But after having a conversation with my friend who said this was her favorite movie, and after making this video, I decided to give it a second shot. And now that I've given it a second shot, I still think it feels like a trailer. Maybe I'm just not accustomed to the flashy editing, but to me it just made the movie feel really tacky. Out of all the Best Picture nominees, I think this is the one where I'm it just feels really out of place here. Austin Butler is single-handedly the only thing that's giving this movie 3 stars for me. Elvis is a movie about Elvis, but it's told through his manager's narration, which is okay, I guess interesting take. I did hear some criticisms about the movie saying that it made Elvis look like some Black Lives Matter activist, but in reality he didn't do much to pave the way for Black voices. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way that this movie is kind of portraying him as something he wasn't, in my opinion. Obviously, I could be wrong. I think I'm gonna stick to being a hater on this one, and part of me wants to lower the rating, but I think we're gonna just stick with a 3 out of 5. So it shouldn't come as a surprise which ranking I'm gonna be putting this in. So Elvis is gonna be in the why is this here tier? Because why is this nominated?
Suddenly I'm dressed in something way less expensive. It's H&M! Yay! Balenciaga! And H&M!
Throughout this movie, there was not a single time where I knew what was happening. It's a dark comedy about societal inequalities, communism, capitalism, classism, pretty much all the isms. These two influencers, Yaya and Carl, get sent on a luxury cruise for free, where they meet a bunch of rich snobs, and I swear it's like clockwork. As soon as Woody Harrelson shows up, this movie just starts going fucking crazy. Everyone on this luxury cruise gets food poisoning. And there is, and I kid you not, a 10-minute scene of just everybody in the cruise vomiting. Like, literally vomiting. And these people fuck up the bathrooms so much that shit, literal shit, explodes and floods the cruise. And it gets worse. Like I said, not a single second did I know what was happening. Part of me really wants to like lower the rating to a 3.5 instead of a 4, but because there isn't like a 3.75, I think we're just gonna round up because it was really funny, really entertaining. I just have some quarrels with it, which like I can't pinpoint, but I think I'm gonna have to put it in the wow, this is really good section for right now.
Sammy?
To my understanding, this movie is based on the director Steven Spielberg's life, like to a T. He said that all of it was true. It's about a young boy who falls in love with the movies and starts making his own while his family has like issues, and like that's... The pacing of this movie is a little slow, in my opinion. The story kind of gets lost along the way. Like, I couldn't tell if this movie was about Steven Spielberg or his mother. Like, and it just kind of feels like he wanted to air out his family drama. I do love the filmmaking aspects and the passion that Steven Spielberg has for film and how it translates in this movie. I think that's probably the best, most endearing thing about the film, the only really thing that makes it good. So I think I'm gonna go with okay, not bad. This movie really just, it was so good. It was so good. It's about two best friends, Calm and Patrick. They're Irish, by the way. So if I fuck these up, I'm really sorry. Like, I'm sorry. Colm wakes up one day completely out of the blue and decides he doesn't fuck with Patrick anymore. But he won't tell Patrick why, other than,
I just don't like you no more.
For a movie with such a simple plot, it keeps you interested and curious the whole time. After finishing the movie, I did watch a video essay on it, and through that video essay, I was informed about the Irish Civil War and how this movie is a metaphor for that war. And I just love the rest of the topics that this movie tackles and how it does it in such a subtle way. The performances in this were honestly really incredible, and so was the color grading and the cinematography. Just so much about it I just loved. So this should not come to a surprise that it's gonna be the first peak cinema tier.
We were given 2 days to forgive the attackers before they returned. We hardly knew how to read or to write.
Women Talking is a movie about, you guessed it, women talking. That's literally all they do for the majority of the movie. And I found it really impressive how attention grabbing this movie was, although little to no action is done throughout the whole movie. The women in this colony have been getting sexually abused for generations by the men of the colony. They start debating whether to stay and fight, leave, or stay and do nothing. So many powerful performances in this movie. I'm really shocked that Claire Foy wasn't nominated for her acting in this movie. Like, she was the standout character. The women are all experiencing their trauma in completely different ways with completely different mindsets, and I think it's so important to show different representation of handling trauma and how these victims are surviving and, you know, just dealing with it. I think the movie really brought a lot to the conversation, and it was just such an amazing way of doing it. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to tell you how good this movie was. So obviously it's gonna be going in peak cinema Do take into consideration the trigger warnings for this movie because it does get a little heavy, so keep that in mind.
Career with the Cleveland Orchestra, Chicago Symphony Orchestra, the Boston Symphony Orchestra, until she at last arrived here at our own New York Philharmonic.
I was actually really excited to watch this movie. I thought it was going to be one of the best ones. This was the one I was most excited to watch. It didn't live up to what I wanted. The writing is really messy and it's just not entertaining enough for a whole movie in my opinion. So Lydia is a world-renowned composer and shit starts hitting the fan after she's hit with controversy after controversy. Other than Kate's performance, everyone else in this movie just kind of feels like they were in a Kate Blanchett movie. Her performance was probably the only thing that made this movie go forward, but other than that, it was just kind of lackluster in my opinion. It was kind of boring. So, doesn't surprise anybody where that's going. Honestly, I would find it really surprising if you guys haven't seen the next two movies because they were literally the only thing people were talking about for like a whole year. After it was in the works for like 13 years and it's finally out, I thought the movie was really good. I don't think it should win Best Picture though. Because if it does win, it would be for the sole purpose that people waited 13 years for it. There are so many other movies on this list that deserve an Oscar over this one in my opinion, and I would be pretty mad and shocked if it wins for Best Picture. But I do really love the family dynamic and the overall vibe of this movie. I think it was really well done. Obviously the special effects are amazing. So this is gonna obviously go in the wow, this is really good tier. Like obviously.
Mrs. Wang. Mrs. Wang. Mrs. Wang, are you with us?
Everything Everywhere All at Once is a movie about life and all its possibilities and how awesome and isolating it can feel to live in this universe. An amazing movie that highlights the relationship between mother and daughter who have an estranged relationship and mental health. This movie just talks about so many things and in such a creative and interesting way. It had such a big impact on pretty much anybody who saw it, and it's because you can relate to at least one of the themes in this movie. The Daniels they ooze creativity and passion out of everything that I've seen them do. This is obviously gonna be going in the peak cinema tier. Esteemed guests, members of the Academy, today I'm here to present to you the award for Best Picture. I made sure to write it in really big letters so that there won't be any mix-ups. I think it's pretty obvious which movie this is going to. It was quite literally the movie of the year, but without further ado, the Oscar for Best Picture goes to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Here it is. Here's the Oscar I present to Everything Everywhere All at Once for Best Picture. Let's just say that the Oscars this year doesn't go to plan, right? And then they don't give it to Everything Everywhere All at Once. If it is not given to The Banshee of Inisherin or Women Talking, it is rigged. It's rigged. Those are the only other two movies that I would be giving a good rating for that deserve it. The Academy does love to fuck with you though. So imagine they give it to Elvis. I would literally go fuck myself. Like I would literally, what would I do? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys liked it. Make sure to subscribe and to follow me on Instagram. Bye.